It's finished. Wealdstone 0, Altrincham 0. We're talking with Phil Parkinson. Phil, we spoke after the game at Barnet, and you said you might need to think about how you approach away games slightly differently. Was what we saw today? Was that a result of that slight change of approach?
It was an inspiring performance today, wasn't it? First of all, I must apologise for having a little bite at your question last week as well about obviously set pieces. The sun had got to me, so yeah, it's something that we know we need to address, and I think you could see there we've looked at it in great depth. We've changed a few things, but yeah, on that performance, listen, we've gone to 3 games without a win. On the road again, there's a saying in this league, you never turn your nose up at a point. We were desperate to get a clean sheet, as I'm sure you could tell with the setup, but on top of that, I think you could still see that there was a game plan with regards. It wasn't just sit back and take it, particularly in the first half. I think we forged a few, when I say forged as well, through good defensive shape and pressing, pinching the ball in and around their area, and we've nearly caused them a few problems and headaches. And I know they'll say the same in the second half, but they're the home team, they're the ones who've got to come at us. And I felt we showed that we can be resilient, and that's what I asked of the players today. Everyone can see our injuries, everyone can see what we're up against, but if I come in front of you after we lose and say that, people will say it's excuses. Look, it's crazy what we're facing at the moment, and we're working hard to bring in some players, but ultimately the 11 out there was as strong as we could go, and I felt that they did ever so well. I'm really proud of the performance today.
Obviously, you've touched on the fact that the circumstances of recent results, but was it also an element of being realistic about what you were going to get from the 11? Because obviously we didn't have a lot of strength on the bench, and thinking about a sort of a strategy that we thought we could sustain for a full game in that way.
No, it was about keeping a clean sheet and stopping the opposition from beating us today, which is not normally my mindset, as you well know. But ultimately, could we counter-attack? Could we play a certain way? Which away from home, as I alluded to last week, we weren't anywhere near. We were miles off it. So in this game, sometimes you've got to strip it back and you've got to look at the basics of the game, which I feel we did really well today. Our shape, our discipline against this team, whether anybody wants to give them credit or not, I certainly do. They out-possession every team in the division, which is something we pride ourselves on, but possession without end product means nothing. So we've reduced them to very little. I know they've had some territory there in the dying 10 minutes, but ultimately our lads have put a massive shift in where they've travelled up to Wealdstone on the day. So where I was saying we can't make excuses about travel at Barnet. Listen, it was a tough old journey today, a lot of traffic, and it is a 3-4 hour journey, so it was a tough one. But ultimately we've got here, we've took from the game what we wanted to say. We would have loved to have took 3 points. We wanted the clean sheet. We've come and we've got that. So we've addressed the fact that everyone's saying about set pieces. Can we keep a clean sheet? Can we play better? Hey, everyone knows we can play better. They've seen us this season, but ultimately, as I said to you, we've got to find a balance between playing really good football and keeping the back door shut. And whilst we haven't got the ability to change our attack at the moment, which should change, I thought the lads stuck to task and put an amazing shift in for the football club today.
I thought one real feature of the game from our point of view defensively was how often we were there were 2 defenders there, or 2, if somebody got beaten, there was somebody in behind covering, and it was a real collective effort. Is that something you've really been talking to not just the defenders about, but the whole team about helping each other out defensively?
Absolutely. Communication, scanning, or cutting off lines, that's what people will be hearing me shout on today. Obviously we do the other bits really well, so it's obviously a feature. We've conceded too many goals again, so we're trying to reduce that, and I keep talking about that word balance, don't I? So balance of being able to attack and defend, and we could have easily won today with the first half attempts on goal if we would have just been a little bit more clinical or had a little bit more desire to go and score that goal. There was some really good blocks from them, and I know we've done the same the other end. I'm just talking about us at the moment. So where you were saying about the extra player, if you really want to go get after a team in any level now, everyone goes man for man, and that's what we do. But if you go man for man, guess what? You're left exposed. And against certain teams in this division, as we found last week against Barnet, that they'll really hurt us if we don't get things right. So we're working on things. I've said all the way through, people maybe needed that reality check last week of where we're up to. Everybody's capable of beating everyone, and we're in that bracket as well, but we're also capable of being beat by anyone in this division. So for me, to take a point on the road, we've stopped that that sequence, as you said last week, what we got to do that we have. So I know people say it's not a win, it's a draw, it's a point on the road. We beat them at our place, it's 4 points against Wealdstone. We've never won here, we've never took anything from here. So I'm certainly delighted with the fact that we've been able to do that.
I think I mentioned this in the commentary, that there are some football managers that you think a 0-0 is almost their favourite result, and you've never struck me as one of those types of managers. Is there something in you that's enjoyed grinding out a 0-0, even if it's not what we associate with your teams?
Well, I've got to be careful what I say here, because I've just gone and hammered the lads for being disappointed with a 0-0. Because it's a question mark that's posed of us all the time, isn't it? You can tell that with the way that we play, but ultimately the bit I'm so pleased with today is we're in a really difficult spot again with personnel. So you can see Tom Jones, he's on the bench today. We've got Joey Jones, we've got Sam Roscoe, we've got George Burrows. George was coming in to see where he was up to at this level of football. Tom's with Cheadle Nomads on a dual registration, who's a full-time pro, but again, that's the difference in levels. Joey, you class him as a first-team player, absolutely, and Sam Roscoe, but that's it. So that's where we're at the moment, and for us to do what we've done today, it's really difficult, because you've got to remember the lads have got to get themselves up for it, and everyone say, well, the professional footballers, it should be easy. When you're on the back of 2 defeats, you're looking round at your squad, you're thinking, we're looking pretty thin here. However I want to dress that up, the lads, it takes its toll on them mentally and physically, because they know they've got to churn that out for the next couple of weeks until we bring them reinforcements in, and we will, but we've got to bring the right ones in. There's no point in me just bringing anyone in, so we've got to be very careful with that, because we did that really well last season, and also have one eye on when Regan's returning. George Wilson, we've had some positive news about him in terms of the time that he'll be back. But yeah, it was a real uphill task today, and the lads performed exceptionally well, and we're all not happy with that, in terms of we know we can be far more attacking, and we know we can take the game to other teams. We've done that here before and got beat. We've come here, we've stopped the rot. I'm really happy with that. And there were some top performances there as well, but the front four were outstanding in terms of the way they kept the discipline. So Chris, Justin Donowa, Justin Amaluza and Dior Angus were superb with that. They had to be, if they weren't really disciplined. We watched the Dagenham and Redbridge game against Wealdstone, and they performed exactly the same way off the ball, and that was kind of the way we wanted to suppress them, with a mid-press, a mid-block, a 4 and a 6, so to speak. And what you saw the other week with the distances were far too big with our centre-halves and our centre-forward, and it was reduced. There was a moment in the game, it happened, and we stopped it, and we got them distances right. But that comes from a little bit of fatigue, and that's the other thing as well. We've got lads who are now going to be playing week in, week out, who've come into the team. So fitness, you could tell fitness levels probably 70, 80 minutes. That's when they started to impose themselves. But they'll be so much better for that, and then Tuesday will really ramp them up. Good thing is no injuries today. So no injuries, and bring some reinforcements in.
I mean, we could pick out different individuals. One that I'd like to pick out is Isaac Marriott, who I thought was one of the people to come out of the Barnet game with some credit, and I wondered whether him taking over the captain's armband had given him a little bit of a boost, in terms of I felt in the last couple of games he's been at his level of last season.
I'm glad you picked up on that, because I said to him in the last training session, we've been waiting for him to kick on to the next level, because I think we've been seeing Isaac of last season and probably not shining as much. I think Elliott's probably outshone him a little bit in previous games, but I saw in Isaac the last couple of training sessions he really come into his own, and I think you're seeing what we all know Isaac's capable of, and Isaac will just go from strength to strength. So you're absolutely right to single him out and pick him out there, and it's a big burden for him, that in a positive way. He's a young player, we've shown a lot of faith in him to give him that vice captaincy. Now he's captain today, and he really steps up to the plate.
Looking forwards, we've got a couple of home games which was very welcome after the travelling. Are you thinking though that it's likely we'll have the same squad for the 2 home games, or are you hoping to add to the squad between now and either midweek or next Saturday?
I'm always hopeful, Laurence, always optimistic, but realistically, I can't give you a straight answer on that. If we can, we will. If we can find the right players, we will bring them in. But they've got to be ready to hit the ground running as well, haven't they? Because you can see everyone's in full swing now, and I've not seen the results today, so I don't know how Hartlepool have gone on, but ultimately, whoever we bring in has got to be ready to hit the ground running and contribute. We're not going to be able to wait 4 or 5 games for them, so fitness, ability, experience at the level, not easy to come by, but we'll find them, we always do. And again, a little shout out for the travelling fans, superb. They made sure the lads all went right over, and it's great to see that they're right behind us. I know they're used to seeing, as we've spoke about throughout this interview, an expansive brand of football. If we would have lost today, they would have said we're naive, we're not trying to change anything. I think they can see we've worked really hard this week to make sure we stop that, and everyone will know there's far more to come from us.
Thanks, Phil, and if you ever feel like having a go at me for any of my questions, you're more than welcome. So thanks very much, Phil.
It's the sun.